Hey friends, Jordan Chavez here. For those of you who don't know me, I am one of the morning anchors at 9 News. You can find me from Monday through Friday, 4:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. But more importantly, I am so thrilled to get to say that I am your MC for the first ever Cabaret on the Rocks event. It's going to be April 12th in Boulder at the iconic Boulder Theater, benefiting out Boulder County. Now, we have such an amazing lineup of talent for this event, and today I get to interview Broadway superstar Hugh Panaro. Now, Hugh is probably best known for his role as Phantom on Phantom of the Opera. That's right. I know he needs no introduction. You already know who he is, but he's also played in many other roles too, alongside some incredible casts. He was also in Les Misérables, Sideshow, Showboat, and he's also a world-renowned concert soloist. Has most recently performed his critically acclaimed show Man Without a Mask to sold-out audiences in New York. So, without further introduction, even though clearly I could keep going on, Hugh, thank you so much for being with me. Very much appreciate this chat, my friend.
Wow, Jordan, I mean, that's the best introduction I think I've ever gotten in my life.
I could have kept going too. Like we had
Oh
to
my God.
actually cap that right there.
I think I'm moving to Denver.
Please come. We can't wait for you to be in Colorado, and we're going to get to that here in just a bit. But first, I want to hear a little bit about the Great White Way, about Broadway and your time on it, specifically when it comes to Phantom of the Opera. Now, before you put Gerard Butler to shame with your beautiful pipes, you, yes, you did, my friend. Before you did that, you actually were the role of Raoul in Phantom of the Opera. So tell me a little bit about your start and how you ended up transitioning to Phantom.
Okay, well, first of all, Mr. Butler did come to see the show when he was getting ready to do the movie. And I was really bummed I didn't get to meet him because I'm like a horror fan. So I saw him in Dracula 2000. I was like, Dracula's here. He didn't come back. Anyhow, I did, I started out as Raoul, Christine Daae's boyfriend. And it was interesting because I was doing Les Miserables on Broadway. I was playing Marius. So I was performing Les Mis at night with all this long, shaggy hair because it was the 80s. And then in the daytime, I was rehearsing for Raoul. And Les Mis, I left Les Mis on a Sunday matinee and they cut off all my hair. And Monday night, I went in as Raoul in Phantom of the Opera. And I loved it. I had a blast. And to be honest, Jordan, I never had like huge designs on playing the Phantom necessarily. So it was kind of just dumb luck that I just finished doing Showboat in London for the director, Harold Prince, Hal. And he called me on the phone and said, Hugh, I love this word. He said, Hugh, I think you're old enough and have the gravitas to play the Phantom now. How do you feel about that? And I was like, okay.
Was there any iconic role outside of the Phantom that, when growing up, you were like, this is what I want to be?
Yeah, and I got to do it. Thank God. I got to play Sweeney and Sweeney Todd off Broadway at the Barrow Street Theater in this really cool immersive production. So the audience was literally right this close to us, and there were no microphones. It was all acoustic, and it was all candlelit, and it was one of the coolest productions I had ever done. And when I was 15, my mom and dad took me to see the original production of Sweeney Todd, starring Angela Lansbury and Len Cariou, and it changed my life.
So going back to your role as Phantom, you mentioned you played opposite Christine. You must have performed with, at least a dozen different Christines. I'm curious if you have a favorite or, is that like having to pick your favorite child? Okay, mom's the word. You won't answer.
I can give you a couple top fives.
Okay, please. Yeah, whatever you're willing to give us.
Well, I'm going to go right to the 25th anniversary was very special. That was something that our director, Hal Prince, specifically handpicked everybody that was going to be on that stage. And I was so grateful to be cast as the Phantom for the 25th anniversary opposite Ciara Vargas. So I'm sure you know who that is. She's the Little Mermaid, like you name it. And um, but also I've had so many. Sandy Joseph, probably I did it with the most, and Sandy's gone on to be a wonderful writer. And uh I hate the word ex when you love somebody. So I call her my once upon a time wife. Tracy Shane was one of the best Christines on the planet. And they're all Adrian McEwen. There's so many that come to mind. Lisa Vroman. I think I had about like 17. And now all the ones that I didn't mention are gonna like kill me. Rebecca Luker. Oh my God. My very first Christine when I was Raoul was Rebecca Luker. And as you know, she's an angel in heaven right now. She had ALS and really brought that to our attention through People Magazine and a lot of the media.
Absolutely, but she's the one you remember because she gave you her confidence on stage specifically for that role.
Well, and I tell this story in my show, that Hal Prince was a very, very smart director. And he had narrowed the Raoul candidates down to 5 guys. And he brought in Rebecca Luker, who was playing Christine, to read with all 5 of the Raoul candidates. And luckily for me, Rebecca and I had that the thing you can't really make. It's either there or it's not, chemistry. And Hal saw it immediately and cast me that day. And Rebecca and I ended up going to London to do a few recordings at Abbey Road together. And then we went on to do Showboat on Broadway in the glorious production at the Gershwin Theater. And it was, there are certain people that, come into your life and really make an impression. And Rebecca Luker was one of those people.
Yeah, absolutely. You were name dropping a lot of really big
Sorry.
icons there. No, keep going. In fact, I want you to name drop even one more because you have worked with some truly you people we consider icons now. One of them being Barbara Streisand. You've been on
No,
stage.
I was going to say I can't drop a bigger name than Barbara Streisand, and that's probably the one that I mean that's like insane because I grew up listening to her sing, and I think I had two records that probably really influenced my life, and it was Barbara Streisand's greatest hits and Pavarotti's greatest hits, so not bad. And to get to sing with my icon, my idol. And sometimes you meet people and it's a little bit like a wah, wah. This was the opposite. I have nothing but beautiful things to say about her because she's the voice of the century. And she also happens to be a lovely human being. And she brought her dog to sound check, and I'm a dog freak. So I got to play with Sammy at sound check. And I'm going to drop another name. Donna Karen threw a big closing night party in London. And, I got to sit across the table from Ms. Barbara, and I was eyeballing her chocolate gelato. And she's like, "You want some?" I'm like, "Yeah, you kidding? I love chocolate." So how many guys can say, I shared chocolate gelato with Barbara Streisand and
I,
sang with her?
Absolutely. I mean, were you just bawling your eyes out watching her receive her Lifetime Achievement Award not too long ago?
That SAG award, there's only one Barbara. And she was magnificent. And I've watched it a few times, and yeah, I cried. And I just remember the first time looking into those big blue eyes and singing Evergreen in Italian opposite her. She would sing it in English, and then I would sing in Italian, and I think I would sing in French. It's a dream come true. And again, I can honestly tell you, Jordan, I got to meet my idol and I wasn't let down at all. And if anything, it just made it even more beautiful that she was a wonderful human being.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, cherry on top. Talk about that.
I'm
Now,
listening to her book right now on tape, on
oh, you
audio.
really? Do you
Yeah.
call her Babs? Do you like know her well enough to call her Babs?
I would never. I mean, honestly, I worship at the shrine that is Barbara.
The disrespect that would be to do that. Okay, I gotta talk to you about something else because you have performed at truly some legendary places. Of course, Broadway, right? We talked about the Hollywood Bowl, Carnegie Hall, but have you ever performed at the Boulder Theater?
No, and I cannot wait. I think I'm more excited about this gig than anything. And ask me why, Jordan.
Okay, why?
Latrice Royale. I am such a fan. No, no, no. I am like a fanboy, and I just can't wait to sing with Latrice. I can die. Barbara, Latrice, Cheetah Rivera, Elton John, I can die. It's like Latrice Royale is everything. I've watched, she's going to probably have to get a restraining order because I'm such a super fan. I'm serious.
Well, I don't know how a schmuck like me ended up being in anybody's presence. I'm so happy that I got asked to be alongside you guys. I'm going to soak up every minute of it. Now, I do have to ask you about the challenge about performing at altitude, and if that's going to be any different for you.
Well, luckily, I did Showboat on tour briefly in Denver. Somebody got sick, and Hal Prince called me and said, "Hey, we need a Ravenel in Denver. Can you get on the next plane?" And um, I said, "Yes, but I have to tell you something, Hal. I was auditioning for Roger in Rent, and I cut off all my hair and dyed it Billy Idol white." So he said, "That's all right. That's what wigs are for." So they had a wig that looked just like my hair, which was amazing. And I got to sing in Denver, and I've sung a lot in Utah as well. So I'm kind of used to the altitude thing. So I'm not scared. I'm ready.
Okay, well, we're ready for you. And speaking of the reason you're coming here, as much as we're excited to get to hear you perform alongside Latrice Royale, we're actually going to be benefiting a really good cause here. We're talking about supporting Out Boulder. I'm curious why you support the work that they do.
Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna get real with you guys real quick. I was tortured and bullied as a child. Tortured. And especially when you're when you're a chunky kid, I wore Husky Plus from Sears, and I was our church organist. Now, if you're a drummer, that's cool. If you're a church organist, not so much. And I hope I'm allowed to say this on the air, but if not, edit me out, bleep me out. But when I was growing up, I barely knew my name because I was either fairy, faggot, or fatso. And that kind of trauma never leaves you. And if I can change the life of one queer kid by being there and speaking out and honoring them, then I've done my job because that's really what it's all about. So, it's very, I'm trying not to cry. It's very close to my heart. And there's no place I'd rather be.
We're so excited for you, and I hope you get to share that experience with a lot of people
I
at the
hope so. Yeah, I think we're actually going to do like a, I don't know if you call it a master class. I call it a master class when I do these at colleges or a university. And but I'm going to get to, I think, meet some kids in the program there. So that's really where my heart explodes. Because it's hard enough as a grown-up to navigate through everything, but when you're just a kid, and especially going through puberty or whatnot, and our trans kids, there's so many obstacles. And so that's going to be a highlight. I mean, this is what they call a dream gig, because I get to be with people I love and perform with Latrice, and I get to hopefully do something positive for some young people's lives. It's a win-win-win.
Is it wild to you to think, all the names that you listed off that you were called as a kid, now kids today call you things like icon, legend, hero, that you are some kids Barbara Streisand.
Um, it's great. I actually have a whole bunch. I call them my kids now because when I was doing Sweeney Todd off Broadway, so much of that cast, they were babies, and I was like the old veteran, and they called me dad, and I love that. And um, I feel like I feel like they're proud papa, and that's like when I meet these kids who are at a risk of a bad bumper sticker, our future. Um, like I said, it kind of makes my job 10 times more exciting and worth it.
Well, you are a busy man because I also have to talk to you about the new solo album that you are working on, Man Without a Mask. That was actually just released. Tell me a little bit about the album and why you wanted to do that.
Well, this is timely. We just had our official album release at 54 Below in New York City, which is where it was originally recorded live back in 2022, but you'll understand this being in the news business and the tech business. So we were ready to, go to production, and I got this horrible phone call that the sound drive had crashed and that all of my files, along with everybody else's files at 54 Below, had been corrupted. So they didn't know if they were going to be able to recover my show. And it took three different tech wizards. Two failed. The third one, thank God, was able to do it. It took 13 months for them to figure out how to extract all of my tracks from the hard drive. We did 2 nights recordings. They were only able to do the second night. There was one song they were able to salvage from the first night, so we put that on the album as well. But this has been a labor of love and a small miracle that it even exists. And I couldn't be happier with it. Steven Sarakoff took the beautiful cover art. It was mixed by Michael Moritz, and it just, the sound, this is the best thing anyone's ever said. It says it sounds, you can hear the sizzle in the air. You hear the clinking of like martini glasses. It's like a throwback to the Rat Pack with, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra. It's like live. And I use the A word, it's authentic. There's no pitch correction like all the kids do now. It's like, if you can have 5 good notes and still turn out an album, but this is real, it's authentic, and everything that everyone's going to hear at the Boulder Theater is going to sound just like it does on my record. And that's what I'm the most proud of.
So we're gonna get to hear some of the songs from Man Without a Mask.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. A nice little
Yeah,
tease right there.
absolutely.
Well,
It's my goal to have everyone feel like they're just in my living room getting to know me and Latrice.
and Latrice, exactly. But like Latrice would be in your living room every time if you could make
I
that happen.
wish, if
Absolutely.
only.
I gotta ask really quickly as you're talking about those technical difficulties that you faced trying to get this album out. Is that a metaphor that you can't stop Hugh Panaro?
Um, I think it's a metaphor maybe for authenticity, which is also part of the cover, the title of the cover. Originally, I can tell you, the original title was going to be Hugh Panaro, Right Before My Eyes, because that's a song that Mr. Elton John wrote for me in a musical called Lestat. Unfortunately, Lestat did not run very long, and it was never published. So we could not get a mechanical right to do it. So we had to cut it from the album as well as the title. So we were going through all these titles, and I just thought, going back to the A word, authenticity, at this point in my life, I am able to perform, yes, as Hugh, not being the Phantom, without the Phantom mask, but also without any other kind of mask. And I can bring my authentic self to an audience and really let them in a way I might not have been able to do as a performer in my 20s, when we're so worried about what people are going to think about us and say about us and all that stuff. So Man Without a Mask is a metaphor, and maybe the whole thing is a metaphor. Like, can't keep a good Phantom down. I don't know.
Well, I gotta say, Hugh, I cannot wait to meet your authentic self. In
Me too.
and of course, we are going to be in Boulder on April 12th. We're going to be live at the Boulder Theater. You got to come check it out. Hugh's going to be there. Latrice Royale is going to be there. Again, tell me
And there's
more.
dancing.
There's
We're
dancing.
going, we're going to dance it out.
And you get to say you're doing it all for a good cause. Again, the
Yeah.
first ever Cabaret on the Rocks, April 12th, live at the Boulder Theater. You do not want to miss it. Hugh, thank you so much time for the
Thank
conversation.
you,
I
Jordan.